AITA for cutting off my brother after he crashed my $28,000 car over a loan? My name is Elliot. I'm 35, and if I've learned anything in the last decade, it's that being reliable is the fastest way to become invisible. I work as a financial analyst for a mid-sized firm in the city. My days are built on spreadsheets, risk assessments, and long calls with clients who trust me with their money. I am careful, cautious, and I double-check everything. These habits have served me well professionally. They've also made me the person my family calls when they need something fixed, funded, or forgiven. For 3 years, I've been financing the entrepreneurial dreams of my younger brother, Connor. Connor is 29. He's charismatic, confident, and completely convinced that his next business idea will be the one that finally takes off. The problem is, none of them ever do. It started small. $1,000 here, $2,000 there for startup costs, web hosting, LLC fees, inventory deposits. I believed him because I wanted to believe in him. Connor had always been the golden child of the family, the one with the personality, the charm, the endless stream of ideas. I was the boring one, the dependable one, the one who showed up to family dinners with a casserole and listened quietly while everyone talked about Connor's latest project. Our parents treated his ambitions like national treasures. When Connor announced he was launching a boutique coffee roasting company, Dad threw him a launch party. When that failed 6 months later, Mom said it was just a learning experience. When he pivoted to crafting leather goods, they bought him a booth at the local craft fair and spent the weekend telling everyone about their son, the artisan. I paid for the booth. I also paid for the inventory, the tools, and the insurance. Connor promised to pay me back once the business got going. He never did. By the time he embarked on his third venture, an outdoor gear subscription box service, I had sunk $35,000 into his dreams. He would thank me in passing, usually in front of our parents, so they could beam about how supportive I was. It felt good to be noticed, even if it was just for signing checks. 3 months ago, Connor came to me with his biggest idea yet, a tech startup, some kind of platform to connect freelance graphic designers with small businesses. He had a slide deck, a business plan, and a funding goal of $200,000. He'd already secured $50,000 from a small group of investors. He needed me to co-sign a $150,000 business loan to cover the rest. I read his plan, and the numbers didn't add up. His revenue projections were wildly optimistic. His expenses were underestimated. His timeline was unrealistic. I'm a financial analyst. I know a bad investment when I see one. This was a bad investment. I told him I couldn't co-sign the loan. He looked at me like I had just slapped him. "Are you kidding me?" he said. I wasn't. I explained my concerns calmly and professionally. I offered to help him revise the plan, maybe bring in a consultant who could tighten up his projections. He wouldn't hear it. "You've never believed in me," he said, his voice quiet but with a sharp edge. "This whole time, you've just been waiting for me to fail." That wasn't true. But before I could say anything, he was gone. For the next 2 weeks, he ignored my texts. My parents called me twice. They asked if I could reconsider. They said Connor was counting on me. They reminded me that family supports family. I explained my reasoning to them again. They listened, but I could tell they didn't really understand. To them, I was just being difficult. Connor needed help, and I was refusing to give it. I thought the silent treatment was the worst of it. I thought that eventually he'd cool down, realize I was trying to protect him, and we could move on. I was wrong. The worst was yet to come. It was a Sunday evening. I had gone to my parents' house for dinner. My car, a sleek black sedan I had saved for 2 years to buy, was parked at the end of the driveway. It wasn't flashy, but it was mine, paid in full. No monthly payments, no outstanding debt, just a clean title and $28,000 of careful financial planning. Dinner was tense. Connor was there, sitting across the table from me. He barely made eye contact. When I passed him the salad bowl, he took it without a word. Our parents filled the silence with small talk, asking about my work, commenting on the weather, and avoiding anything that might spark an argument. After dessert, I got up to leave. I grabbed my jacket from the hook by the door and said my goodbyes. Mom hugged me. Dad clapped me on the shoulder. Connor stayed seated at the table, scrolling on his phone. I stepped outside. The evening air was cool, that crisp autumn chill that makes you zip up your jacket. I was halfway to my car when I heard the sound of an engine turning over. I turned to see Connor getting into his truck, a massive F, $150 he'd bought last year with money from his failed leather goods business. He put the truck in reverse. I watched him back out of the driveway. He was going fast, faster than he needed to. I opened my mouth to shout, to tell him to slow down. But before I could, I heard a crunch of metal on metal, a sickening screech that made my stomach churn. Connor had backed straight into the driver's side of my car. The impact sent my sedan lurching onto its ruined tires. The door was caved in, the side mirror dangling by a wire. The rear quarter panel was crumpled. I froze, my brain unable to process what I was seeing. For a moment, I just stood there, staring at the wreckage. Connor shifted the truck into park. He got out slowly, casually, as if he'd just finished running an errand. He walked over to inspect the damage. He tilted his head, observing the mangled side of my car like it was a mildly interesting piece of art. Then he looked at me, and he smirked. "Oops," he said. That was it. Just one word. No apology, no panic, no guilt. Just a smug little smile, and a single syllable that made my blood run cold. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My hands were shaking. My chest felt tight. I looked past him toward the house and saw our parents standing on the porch. They had heard the crash. They had come out to see what happened. I waited for them to say something, to demand an explanation, to ask Connor what in the world he was thinking. Instead, Dad sighed. He walked down the steps slowly, hands in his pockets, and stopped a few feet from the wreckage. He looked at my car, looked at Connor, then looked at me. "Calm down," he said. "It was an accident." I stared at him. My voice came out lower than I intended. "He hit my car." Dad shrugged. "You know how Connor gets when he's told no. He acts out. He doesn't mean it." Connor was still smirking. He hadn't even bothered to pretend it was an accident. And Dad was standing there, making excuses for him like it was normal, like wrecking someone's car was just something you did when you were upset. Mom stepped forward. She put a hand on my arm. "Elliot, sweetie, insurance will cover it. Let's not make a big deal out of it." "Okay." I pulled my arm away. I looked at Connor. I looked at my parents. I looked at my wrecked car. And in that moment, something inside me broke. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I didn't demand anything. I just walked back to my car, pulled out my phone, and took pictures of the damage. I documented every angle, every dent, every scratch. Connor watched me the whole time, that smirk still playing on his face. Then I called a tow truck and I left. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on my couch, staring at the pictures of my mangled car on my phone. The tow truck had taken it to a body shop. The estimate came in within an hour, $17,000 in damages. The frame was bent. The door needed to be completely replaced. The repair costs were so high that my insurance adjuster said it might be a total loss. Connor had destroyed my car, and my parents had acted like it was nothing. I replayed the scene over and over. The smirk, the casual loops, my dad's excuse, my mom's dismissal, the way they all looked at me like I was the problem for being upset. I thought about the last 3 years, the money I had given Connor, the hours I'd spent reviewing his business plans, offering advice, trying to help him succeed. The way he thanked me in front of our parents, but never in private. The way he turned on me the second I said no to the loan. And now this. I should have been angry. I should have been furious. But I wasn't. It was something else, something colder. I opened my laptop. I launched my banking app. I logged into my investment accounts. I opened the spreadsheet I kept for all of Connor's expenses, the one I had been maintaining for 3 years, tracking every loan, every payment, every deposit. It was all there. $35,000 in 3 years. That was the total I had given him for his businesses. But that wasn't all. I went through my files. I found the documents I had signed 2 years ago when Connor needed a co-signer for his apartment lease. I had guaranteed it because his credit wasn't good enough. I found the paperwork for the business credit card I had added him to as an authorized user, the one with a $25,000 limit that he used for supplies and inventory. I found the investment account I had opened in his name, the one I had seeded with $8,000 of my own money, so he would have a nest egg when he was ready to launch something real. I had built him a financial safety net, and he had just destroyed my car. I didn't call him. I didn't text him. I didn't send an angry email. I just started working. I removed my name from his apartment lease. I called the landlord, explained the situation, and requested to be released as the guarantor, effective immediately. The landlord agreed. Without my guarantee, Connor would have to qualify on his own. With his credit history, That wasn't going to happen. I logged into the credit card account and removed him as an authorized user. The card was instantly canceled. I transferred the $8,000 from the nest egg fund and closed the account. The money went back into my personal savings. The fund no longer existed. Then, I opened my email and composed a message to Connor's business line of credit provider. I was listed as the primary guarantor on the account. I requested to be removed immediately. The bank processed the request within minutes. Without a guarantor, Connor's line of credit would be terminated. I hit send. I closed my laptop. I leaned back on the couch. I felt nothing. No guilt, no doubt, just a quiet, cold certainty. Connor smirked as he wrecked my car. He thought he had won. He thought he had punished me for saying no. He had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I went to work like nothing had happened. I sat at my desk, reviewed client portfolios, attended meetings, and ate lunch at the same deli I always did. My coworkers asked how my weekend was. I told them it was fine. At 8:16 a.m., Connor received an email from his bank. I know the exact time because he called me 7 minutes later. I let it go to voicemail. The email informed him that his business line of credit had been terminated due to the removal of the primary guarantor. The account was closed, effective immediately. The outstanding balance was due in full within 30 days. Connor had been using that line of credit to pay his suppliers. He owed $18,000. Without the line of credit, he had no way to pay it. He called me 3 more times that morning. I didn't answer. He sent texts. I didn't read them. By noon, he realized I had removed myself from his lease. His landlord called to inform him that without a qualifying co-signer, his lease would not be renewed. He had 60 days to find a new guarantor or vacate the property. At 2 p.m., he discovered his business credit card had been canceled. He was at a supply store, trying to order materials for a client project. When the card was declined, he tried again. Declined. He asked the cashier to check the system. The account no longer existed. I know all of this because my mother called me at 3 p.m. Her voice was high-pitched with panic. "Elliot, what did you do?" I was in a meeting. I stepped out into the hallway. "I removed my financial support from Connor," I said calmly. "I am no longer a guarantor for his liabilities." "You can't do this to him," she said. "He's your brother." "He wrecked my car," I said. "On purpose. And you told me to calm down." There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. "That was an accident," she finally said. "No, it wasn't. Elliot, please. He needs you. His business will go under without your help." Then maybe he shouldn't have crashed my car. I hung up. Connor showed up at my office that evening. The receptionist called to let me know I had a visitor. I asked her to send him away. She said he was refusing to leave. I told her to call security. 10 minutes later, Connor was escorted from the building. I watched from my office window as he stood on the sidewalk, staring up at the building, his hands clenched into fists. He called me again that night. This time, I answered. "You're destroying my life," he said, his voice trembling. "No," I said. "I'm just not funding it anymore. You know I can't survive without your help. You should have thought about that before you destroyed my car. It was an accident." You smirked, Connor. You looked me in the eye, and you smirked. Don't insult me by pretending it was an accident. There was silence on the other end of the line. "No. Elliot, please. I am begging you. You should have been begging before you hit my car." I hung up. I blocked his number. The next morning, I received an email from Connor's primary supplier. They were demanding immediate payment for the outstanding balance on his account. Without the line of credit, Connor had no way to pay them. They were threatening to suspend his account and send the debt to collections. I forwarded the email to Connor. I didn't add a message. I didn't need to. The cascade had begun, and there was no stopping it now. Connor showed up at my apartment 3 days later. I was making dinner when I heard a knock at the door. I looked through the peephole and saw him standing there, hands in his pockets, looking exhausted. I opened the door, but didn't step aside. "What do you want?" He looked at me. His eyes were red, like he hadn't slept. His face was drawn. He seemed smaller than I remembered. "Can I come in?" he asked. "No." He flinched. For a moment, he just stood there, looking at me as if he didn't know what to say. "Elliot, please, I need to talk to you." "So talk." He glanced over his shoulder as if he was afraid someone would overhear. Then he looked back at me. "I messed up." "Okay. I know I messed up. The car thing. I was furious. I wasn't thinking. I didn't mean to hurt you." I said nothing. I just watched him. I need you to put me back on those accounts, he said. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be, but I'm drowning here. My suppliers are threatening me. My landlord is threatening me. I can't keep my business running without your support. You don't have a business, Connor. You have a hobby that I've been funding for 3 years. His jaw tightened. That's not fair. Fair, I said. You destroyed my car. You smirked at me. And my parents told me to calm down because you were acting out. What about that was fair? I said I was sorry. No, you didn't. You haven't apologized once. You've just told me that you need me to fix this. That's not an apology. It's a demand. He stared at me, his hands trembling. I need you, he said quietly. You treated me like an ATM. That's not true. Yes, it is. You've taken $35,000 from me in 3 years. You've used my credit, my apartment guarantee, my investment account. You've built your entire life on my back. And the moment I said no to one thing, you punished me by destroying my car. I told you it was an accident. Stop lying to me. My voice came out louder than I intended. Connor took a startled step back. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. You hit my car on purpose. You wanted to hurt me because I said no to you. And now you're here, asking me to bail you out again. And you can't even be honest about what you did. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. He just stood there, staring at me. I'm done, Connor. I'm done funding your dreams. I'm done being a guarantor for your life. I'm done being the person you call when you need something and ignore when you don't. If you do this, I'll lose everything, he said, his voice breaking. Then maybe you should have thought of that before you wrecked my car. Elliot, please. No. I started to close the door. Connor grabbed the edge, stopping it. You're going to regret this, he said. His voice was different now, harder, angrier. You think you're punishing me, but you're just proving you never cared. I looked at him. I saw the desperation in his eyes, the way his hand was clamped to the doorframe, like it was the only thing holding him up, and I felt nothing. Let go of the door, Connor. He didn't move. Let go of the door, or I'm calling the police. He let go. He took a step back. He stared at me for a long moment, and then he turned and walked away. I closed the door. I locked it. I stood there in the hallway, my heart pounding, and I realized that for the first time in 3 years, I felt free. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open and a cup of cooling coffee beside me. I was building something, a file, a record, a vault of evidence that would prevent my parents from ever gaslighting me, from ever rewriting history, from ever pretending I was the villain in all of this. I started with the money. I went through every bank statement, every Venmo transaction, and every check I had ever written to Connor in the last 3 years. I created a spreadsheet with the date, the amount, the purpose, and the repayment status. The numbers told a clear story: $35,000 given, 0 repaid. I moved on to the co-signing obligations. I downloaded the apartment lease documents, the credit card agreements, and the investment account statements. I highlighted my name on every page, circling every section where I was listed as a guarantor, co-signer, or primary account holder. I saved copies to 3 different cloud storage accounts. I wasn't taking any chances. Then, I pulled up the insurance report on my car. The adjuster had sent me the full breakdown, $17,000 in damages. The report included photos of the wreckage, notes on the angle of impact, and a preliminary determination that the damage was consistent with an intentional collision. The adjuster hadn't stated it outright, but the subtext was clear. This was not an accident. I compiled text messages. I screenshotted every conversation where Connor asked for money, promised to pay me back, or dismissed my concerns. I organized them by date. I highlighted the ones where he had become dismissive or rude after I said no to the loan. I included the voicemails he left after I removed him from the accounts. In one, he said, "You're destroying me, Elliot. I hope you're happy." In another, he called me selfish and accused me of never caring about family. I saved every single one. By 2 a.m., I had a file over 200 pages long: bank statements, contracts, insurance reports, text messages, voicemails, and a detailed timeline of every financial interaction I had ever had with Connor. I saved it as a PDF. I titled it Connor Financial History 2021 to 2024. I backed it up in 4 different places. I didn't plan to use it, not yet, but I wanted it ready. I wanted to make sure that if anyone tried to turn this on me, I had proof. The next morning, I met with a lawyer. Her name was Madeline. She worked for a firm that specialized in family law and financial disputes. I had gotten her name from a colleague who had gone through a messy divorce. He recommended her highly. I sat across from her in a small conference room. She was in her late 40s, with a sharp gaze and a no-nonsense demeanor that made me feel like I was in the right place. I handed her a printed copy of the file. "This is everything," I said. "Every financial interaction I've had with my brother for the last 3 years. I need to know what my legal options are." She flipped through the pages slowly, her expression unreadable. When she finished, she looked up at me. "You were the co-signer on his apartment lease?" I was. "I had myself removed 3 days ago." "And the credit card?" "Canceled. The investment account is closed. I withdrew the funds." She nodded. "And the car?" I told her about the crash, the smirk, my parents' reaction, and the insurance report. She leaned back in her chair. "Do you have video of the crash?" I shook my head. "It happened in my parents' driveway. No cameras." "Does anyone else know he did it on purpose?" "My parents were there. They saw it. But they're making excuses for him." She tapped her pen on the table. "Well, here's what you need to know. Legally, you are well within your rights to remove yourself from any financial obligations you co-signed for. You are not required to continue supporting him. If he tries to sue you for damages or claim you broke some verbal agreement, he will lose. You have documentation proving this was always your money, your accounts, your support. He has no legal claim to any of it." I felt something in my chest loosen. "What about the car?" "That's more complicated. Without video evidence or a witness willing to testify it was deliberate, it's going to be classified as an accident. Your insurance will cover it, minus your deductible. If you want to go after him for the deductible, you could file a small claims suit, but honestly, it might not be worth the trouble." I nodded. I had expected as much. "What happens now?" I asked. She smiled. It was a small, knowing smile. "Now you watch. You've removed his financial life support. He's going to crash and burn. And when he does, make sure you're nowhere near the wreckage." I left her office feeling lighter than I had in days. I had done everything right. I had protected myself legally, I had documented everything, and now all I had to do was wait. Connor's business imploded in 72 hours. It started with the email, the one that landed at 8:16 a.m. on a Thursday. I wasn't there to see it, but I heard about it later. Connor was sitting at his kitchen table, drinking coffee and scrolling through his phone. The notification popped up. Subject: Notice of business line of credit termination. He opened it, read the first line, and his breath caught. The bank informed him that due to the removal of his primary guarantor, his business line of credit had been terminated. The account was closed. The outstanding balance of $18,000 was due in full within 30 days. Failure to pay would result in the debt being sent to collections and reported to the credit bureaus. Connor stared at the screen. He refreshed the email, as if it were a mistake. It wasn't. He tried to log into the account. Access denied. He called the bank. They confirmed it. Without me as a guarantor, he did not qualify for the line of credit. The account was closed. There was nothing they could do. He hung up. He sat at his kitchen table, his coffee growing cold in front of him, and realized his entire business model had just collapsed. Within an hour, his phone started ringing. His suppliers. He had paid them through the line of credit. Now the payments were bouncing. They wanted their money. One said they were suspending his account until the balance was settled. Another said they were escalating to collections. A third said they were considering legal action. Connor tried to explain, tried to negotiate, and asked for more time. None of them cared. They wanted their money, and they wanted it now. By noon, his landlord called. The guarantor on his lease had been removed. Without a qualifying cosigner, Connor would have to reapply for the lease on his own. His credit score was 580. The landlord said he did not meet their requirements. Connor had until the end of the month to find a new guarantor or vacate the property. Connor called our parents. They told him they couldn't help. Dad said he didn't have the credit history to be a guarantor. Mom said they didn't have the income. They suggested he talk to me. Connor told them I was the one who did this to him. By the end of the day, his bank account was overdrawn. He had been relying on the line of credit to cover expenses until client payments came in. Without it, he couldn't pay rent, utilities, or his supplier bills. His account went negative. The bank charged him overdraft fees. He was $800 in the hole. He tried to contact his clients. He told them he needed upfront payments to keep their projects moving. 2 of them canceled their contracts. They said they couldn't work with someone who was having financial problems. The 3rd asked if he was going out of business. Connor said no. The client didn't believe him. By Friday morning, his startup was dead. He had no credit, no cash flow, no suppliers, and no clients. His apartment lease was in jeopardy. His business accounts were frozen or closed. He was broke. And I was at my office, reviewing a client portfolio, when my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Are you happy now? Connor is losing everything." I didn't respond. At 3 p.m., my father called. I let it go to voicemail. He left a message. His voice was cold, disappointed. "Elliot, I don't know what's gotten into you, but what you're doing to your brother is cruel. He made a mistake. You need to fix this before it's too late." I deleted the voicemail. Connor texted me at 6 p.m. I had unblocked his number earlier that day, just to see what he would say. The message was long, rambling, and desperate. "Elliot, please. I know you're mad. I know I made a mistake, but you're destroying me. I have nothing left. No money, no business, no apartment. I'm begging you. Please put me back on the accounts. I'll pay you back. I swear. Please don't let me lose everything." I read the message twice. I thought about responding. I thought about explaining exactly why this was happening, why I wasn't going to help him, why he had brought this on himself. Instead, I typed one sentence. "You smirk when you wrecked my car." I hit send. I blocked his number again. The next morning, I got an email from Connor's landlord. He was being evicted. He had failed to provide a new guarantor, and his rent check had bounced. The landlord had filed for eviction and expected Connor to vacate the premises in 30 days. I forwarded the email to my lawyer. She responded with a single sentence. "Stay the course." I did. By the end of the week, Connor had moved back in with our parents. His business was officially closed. His suppliers had sent his debts to collections. His credit score had dropped another 50 points. He had no income, no prospects, and no way to recover. And I got my car back. Insurance had paid out enough to cover the repairs. It wasn't perfect, but it was drivable. I picked it up from the shop on a sunny Saturday afternoon, paid the deductible out of my own pocket, and drove home. I didn't feel guilty at all. Comment. This story is a powerful reminder of the thin line between helping and enabling those we love. Setting boundaries isn't about punishing someone. It's about respecting yourself. It's also about teaching others about accountability and, crucially, showing yourself that your own peace and stability are non-negotiable. Above all, remember to build your own foundation first, because true support can only come from a place of strength, not sacrifice. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.